Hi again. Today I'd like to talk about dial indicator setups used in Bassoon reed making. I've shown a variety of commercial setups currently available. While most folks use commercial setups, it's also common to obtain the dial indicator separately and construct a suitable stand. All setups have two items in common: a gauge, the dial indicator held firmly in a fixture, the stand, and a probe that is inserted between the blades of the reed, also firmly held. The fixture holds the two items so that the blade thickness can be accurately determined in a variety of locations along the reed blade. For those of you who have seen my reed transformation videos, you know that I make thickness measurements at 9 to 30 locations on each blade of the reed, depending on the stage of reed scraping. I'm restricting my discussion to indicators with a dial rather than digital indicators. I have an aversion to having to replace batteries on a regular basis. Typically, commercial setups range in price from about $150 US to over $400. Dial indicators themselves range in price from as little as $15, total trash, to over $250 when new. If purchasing a commercial setup, I would contact the vendor and ask about the brand and model of dial indicator being included. Common quality brands include Starrett and Mitutoyo, but there are certainly many other quality brands. Long Island Indicator Service has a comprehensive list of various brands. I personally would avoid any indicator without branding. They are often of lower quality and can fail within a few years of use. What characteristics should one consider when purchasing a dial indicator or setup? The dial should be continuously reading, either 0 to 100 if measuring in hundredths of a millimeter, or 0 to 40 or 0 to 50 if measuring in thousandths of an inch. The typical dial sizes are 43 and 57 millimeters, that's 1 and 11/32 inches, or 2 1/4 inches. Stay away from indicator travel ranges of an inch, 25 millimeters or more. In order to have that much travel, the return spring must be strong. That may lead to temporarily denting the reed and inaccurate measurements. A maximum travel of 1/4 to 1/2 inch, 6 or 12 millimeters, is plenty. Reed blades are a maximum of about 35 thousandths, or much less than 1 millimeter thick. A lifting lever can make placing the reed somewhat easier. However, I've gone more than 60 years without this feature and find it totally unnecessary. But that's just me. The lever adds about $20 to the price. I've seen advertising copy touting special material composition for the probe. I've experimented on my personal mild steel probe and found about 2 10,000ths of an inch displacement due to the weight of a contra-bassoon reed. That's about 5 thousandths of a millimeter. I found that acceptable. Do we want tabletop or a handheld setup? Personal preference. I prefer tabletop, but I have a friend who always works handheld. Vertical or back plunger indicator? Again, this is a personal preference. Back plungers can sometimes be easier to read. Please note that should your gauge fail sometime in the future, you have options rather than just buying a complete new setup. Assuming the fixture is still intact, you can investigate repairing the gauge. Services are available. One is Long Island Indicator Service. You can replace the gauge, but you should note whether the gauge is in hundredths of a millimeter or thousandths of an inch, or if the gauge is mounted by the stem, note if the diameter is 3/8 of an inch or 8 millimeters. They're different. Also look at the brand and model. Choose wisely. DIY solutions allow for separate purchase of the indicator itself. Online or in tool sources, one can often find quality dial indicators either in new or lightly used condition for under $50. My back plunger dial indicator was purchased for about $15, but needed some cleaning and lubrication. For those of you who know your way around a shop or have talented friends, you can always make your own fixture for holding in the indicator and probe. I made my own fixture with help when I was in high school many years ago, 1962, and it has served me well. You will need access and knowledge to safely use a metal cutting saw, a drill press, and threading taps. If you are in a university setting, facilities can often be found in physics, engineering, theater, or sculpture departments. Maker spaces or community shops are often also available. Cultivating relationships with folks in those places can be invaluable. When I was on the faculty of Portland State University, I took a machine shop class from the physics department. It was also open to students. I regularly use the engineering shops at the University of San Diego. Here is the fixture I made 60 plus years ago. It is made from mild steel rod and square stock. The probe was turned in an electric drill and filed until about 1/10 of an inch in diameter for a length sufficient for reed usage, say 1.3 inches. Then filed flat to about 0.06 inches with a bump on the end. The rods are joined by 1/2 inch square stock drilled on a drill press to accommodate the various rods and set screws. My dial indicator has a threaded back to mount it. This fixture also works nicely with back plunger indicators. Here is a more recent fixture that I also use. It is similar to many of the commercial setups previously shown, but is made from thin layered plywood, I believe Baltic birch, about 3/4 of an inch, 16 millimeters thick. The dial indicator is held by its stem with a pinch joint, and the probe is just glued in. Special care must be taken to align the holes for the indicator and the probe. Use a drill press and a clamp down vise when making those holes. While I'm using a back plunger indicator, vertical indicators would work just as well with this fixture. I needed to extend the plunger for the indicator and replace the contact point. These items can be found online for a low price. The threads on the plunger may vary. Most metric gauges have an M2.5 thread, while the inch gauges have 4/48. I replaced the face of this back plunger indicator. It came with a plus or minus 12.5 thousandths face. Since the reed blade thickness varies from about 10 thousandths to about 30 thousandths, that is sufficient range. I made a new face using a free app on the web and glued it to the back of the original face, some of us. As a final setup example, here is a simple fixture using a bent rod and a vertical indicator with a lug band. The bent rod needs threads on the end to clamp the indicator. A long bolt will work if the head is cut off. The probe is again mounted with square stock here in dense wood, or with a snub, the thing with a knob. Used snubs can also be found online. Okay, I've presented some information about dial indicators and mounting stands for them. Obviously, I can't cover everything in a short video. Here are some additional perspectives. It all started for me when I was taking bassoon lessons in high school. My teacher then, John McRae, was working on a master's thesis on reed making. He used a stand made from rods held together by snubs holding a back plunger dial. He called it a micrometer. I took an interest, and my parents gave me a micrometer for Christmas. Oops. We went from there. Back plunger gauges were hard to find, hence the screw back. We couldn't find snubs, square stock replaced them, and so on. So why do I have two setups? From my other videos, you've seen this workplace. It really works for me. A tall desk where I can stand or sit on a stool, good light, place for my tools, terrible acoustics. I practice in a room with a high ceiling and good acoustics. Some rework occasionally occurs there as well. I got tired of walking between locations and built another stand. I hope you find this video worthwhile. Happy reed making.